पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. So we start with this mantra. So we are going to start with that and proceed. The mantra is Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. This is the mantra. Now, the mantra starts with Om, right? So, we need to understand Om before we go to the next other parts of the mantra. So if you understand Om, though it may take 6-7 satsangs to understand Om, I'm going to sum it up. Because human beings are in the business of summing up things, which is why we never get anything accurately. So again, I'll also make an unsuccessful attempt to sum it up. So, Om. You all know that Om consists of 3 syllables. But I'm sure all the people who have come to this satsang already know this. At least that much you know. Oh, no, somebody doesn't. I think everybody knows that Om consists of A, U and Ma, Im, that you all know. Now, normally A is considered to be the beginning of everything. Some people use the word creation, but I would say the beginning of everything. Not only what happened in the past, because of which the world exists, but what happens every day when you create or when you begin something. That beginning is Om's first letter, A. Why? Because it is the simplest sound that can be made. Even people who can't speak can say A. And even Om, even though many people don't chant Om, the Indian way of responding to something, if you say something, how do you usually respond? Just change it little, Om. Without opening your mouth, it's Okay, so be it. So it's a symbol of saying, okay, everything is okay, fine. If it's not, you say, different. Right? So, now, therefore the first syllable A is the beginning of time, the beginning of sound, the beginning of creation, the beginning of thought, the beginning of everything. So don't consider it only because A represents creation as the beginning when the whole cosmos was created. It's also today. A beginning of a thought is A. A beginning of anything that you do is A. So A is the end of all things. So A is the beginning of all things. Huh? Shall I continue or wait? No, can you hear me? So, then you have U, A, U and Ma. Then the U. U is the middle sound. After the beginning, the continuing of what is beginning is U. This is the last sound of the word Vishnu, U. Lying on the ocean, with head on the hand, legs stretched, in Ananta Sayana, in complete rest, unending rest. This is the continuation. We also like to continue to sleep whenever possible. How many times does the alarm ring before we wake up? It's a sign of wanting to have continued bliss. Ooh. represents Mahavishnu. He's also the main deity in the state where I was born, in Trivandrum, Ananta Padmanabha Swami. Now, then there is the last letter, which is Om. I've shut my mouth. If anything else has to come, I have to open it once again. So it is an image or a symbol of the whole round of starting, beginning, continuing, and ending. When I say ending, it's every time it's a temporary ending, because when it ends, then the new begins. If something doesn't end, nothing can begin. Right? Yes or no? Yes. If I want everything to continue status quo, then nothing new comes out. That's also to be noted. And therefore, Ma or represents the end. So this is Om. Many people know this roughly, that this is what Om represents. But what many people don't think about is that there is another deeper metaphysical, psychological and spiritual meaning to Om, which is very beautifully given in the Mandukya Upanishad, which is the smallest Upanishad in the whole, all the Upanishads put together, with only 12 slokas. Only 12 slokas. It does not say what you should do or what you should not do or anything of that kind. It simply describes the states of consciousness, which are common to all living, not all human beings at least, actually living beings. And there, the Om is described this way, that the the first sound, represents the waking state of consciousness, when you wake up. I think we are awake, right now. Another 10 minutes we'll figure out, but now yes. So, waking state of consciousness, which is common to all human beings, and which in Sanskrit is called Jagrata Avastha. Nothing to do with the Jagrans on the main road, but Jagrata Avastha. That means waking, the waking up, the state in which we understand things, hopefully, and so on. This is the waking state. This is represented by the sound A. Then the U. U represents the Tejasa or the Swapna Avastha, which means the dream state, which is also common to all human beings. I'm sure you dream. You dream. We dream both ways, night dream and day dream, both. So dream state is common to all human beings, and this is represented by the sound U. Right? So we have the waking, we have the dream. And this dream state is a very wonderful state. What you cannot live in the waking state, you can live in the dream state. Not voluntarily, but it happens. Desires which you could not fulfill in the waking state get fulfilled in the dream state. And fears which you have here, but which you are not so aware of, they come out in the dream. And in the dream, you can imagine and sometimes dream that you are the emperor of the world. Even if you wear the emperor's clothes, nobody is going to say anything in the dream. So, dream is a wonderful state. You enjoy in the dream. You also have fear in the dream, because sometimes dreams are quite fearful. But when you wake up, you go to the state called Jagrata, represented by A, the dream doesn't exist. In the same way, when you are in the dream state, the A or the waking state doesn't exist. Also, the images are borrowed from the waking state, but the waking state as as such does not exist. When you're awake, where is the dream? When you're dreaming, where is the waking state? Not there anymore. So who knows now whether you're dreaming or awake? In the dream, if I sit down in a dream and have a satsang and tell you you're dreaming, you'll say, oh, shut up, we are not dreaming. Now you'll say, yeah, oh, you wake up and say, that was all a dream. Now you're saying that I'm awake, I'm not dreaming. Who knows? Really? Who knows that I might one day stretch my hands and wake up and say, oh God, what a big dream. Who knows? That waking up is called Turiya. Let's not get there now. We have some more to do. So, is waking, U is dream. It's called Tejasa because in the dream there is no light. Your eyes are shut, there is no electric light. It's not even an aeroplane, you can't use your reading lights. It's all dark, but you see everything in light. So it's self-effulgent, so it's called Tejasa. Okay. Then there is Ma, right? Om. The last sound, Ma, represents the deep sleep or Sushupti sleep, where everything is over for the time being. There is no outward recognition. There is no inward cognition. There is neither outer nor a mix of inner and outer. It's just, there is no awareness of anything. You don't exist because you don't know that you exist. And because you don't exist or you don't know that you exist, there are no problems. When I know I exist, oh, I am so and so. So somebody saw me and they didn't even smile at me, so I'm worried. In the deep sleep, somebody smiles, or who cares? Because you don't know. You don't know, first of all, you're not aware. Second, you don't know if you exist at all because you are lost to the world, inner and outer. This is called Sushupti, the deep sleep. Ego problems do not exist in deep sleep. The ordinary worker and the boss of the company both sleep, deep sleep. One may be sleeping in a luxurious bed and the other may be sleeping on a plank, but both are asleep. In fact, the guy on the plank may sleep better than the boss because he might have loans from the banks, how to repay. Then what? Then you pop tablets and then you fall asleep. The other guy is so tired, he goes to sleep. But it's common to all. Everybody is equal in sleep. The only place where true communism applies is deep sleep. Everybody is equal. So, in deep sleep, there is no awareness, internal or external. But when you wake up, you always feel that it was a blissful sleep. Generally, if you slept well, you get up and say, oh my God, it was so nice, what a blissful sleep. Although at that point you are not aware of it. You are aware of it in the state between waking and sleep. When you wake up from sleep, when you hear the alarm ring once, right? Once, it's so blissful that you switch it off and go back to sleep because the bliss keeps calling you back. And also when you wake up, you say, oh, I had a wonderful, blissful sleep. So apparently there is someone who is aware out there, but doesn't remember it at that point, but remembers it when you wake up as a memory. If there has to be a memory, there has to have been an experience. And therefore there has been an experience of bliss, which is so wonderful that you want to go back to that. Please, that is not the aim of spiritual life. Don't get wrong ideas. Sleep. Eat and sleep. So, this is merely a pointer, the sound of Om, to show that this state exists. So Om here represents these three states of waking, dream and deep sleep, and the borders between the three are very thin, actually. Thread-like barriers, very thin. You can at any time shift from here to there or here to this side. Right. But in all the three states, there is a witness. In deep sleep also there is a witness who remembers that you were in a blissful sleep when you wake up. In dream sleep you are aware of the witness. It's watching the dream. In waking state you are aware of the witness. You are watching everything. So there is a witness, this is the connecting link between all these three states. So the Upanishad says when you say Om, you know, Om doesn't end, when you say Om, you don't say Om. You say Om. Once I went to an ashram, but people don't call each other by names, they call each other Om. It's ridiculous because when you are in a very happy mood, they call you Om. You're angry, Om. Om, come here. So, Om. But when you say Om, you don't chant Om, you chant Om. So there is a going, right? So that is called in Sanskrit the Ardhamatra. The small thing on the top of Om with a dot, that is the Ardhamatra. It's like the after sound of the ringing of the bell. You ring the bell, it goes on. Or you ring the gong, it goes on. You may hear it only as long as you have the capacity to hear it. Because the ear is built with a certain frequency. Beyond that it cannot hear. But it doesn't mean the sound is stopped. It's on. Any sound made never ends, it continues. You cannot grasp it. Thank God, otherwise there will be so many sounds here, we can't sit. So, that last part, the Ardhamatra, is called in the Upanishad as Turiya. And Turiya is the witness which has been there through all the three states, but not involved in the states, but merely as a witness. This is Turiya. So this is another deeper understanding of the word Om. So right now you can't say this is all theoretical, it's a practical experience of every human being. Right?